Marco Dante heard the words through his office door, a whisper so desperate it cut through the mahogany like a scream. "Don't let him take me back." He opened the door to find a woman collapsed against the hallway wall, her face a canvas of purple and yellow bruises, her eyes fixed on him with the kind of terror that came from knowing exactly what waited if she failed. 4 days earlier, the gallery opening was the kind of event Marco attended purely for appearances. White walls, expensive wine, people who mistook wealth for taste. He stood near a sculpture that looked like twisted metal someone had pulled from a car wreck, wondering who paid 6 figures for organized chaos. That's when he noticed her. She stood before a painting of a storm-dark ocean, so still she could have been part of the exhibit. Her posture was careful, controlled, spine straight, hands clasped, head tilted at precisely the angle that kept her face partially hidden. The navy dress she wore had long sleeves despite the gallery's warmth. Marco had learned to read those details the way other men read financial statements. A man appeared at her elbow, tall, silver-haired, expensive suit that screamed old money. Dr. Kenneth Morrison, if Marco remembered correctly. Physician, philanthropist, served on half the charity boards in the city. The kind of man people trusted instinctively. Morrison's hand landed on the woman's lower back with possessive weight. She went rigid, a nearly imperceptible flinch that most people would miss. Marco didn't miss anything. "Vanessa," Morrison said, his tone carrying the particular sharpness of someone used to immediate obedience. "Stop wasting time. Senator Bradley wants to meet you." She turned smoothly, that careful control never breaking, and followed him across the gallery. But Marco had seen what he needed to see. The way she measured each step, the practiced smile that looked perfect and felt hollow, the barely visible tremor in her left hand. He made a call before leaving. "I need information on Dr. Kenneth Morrison. Everything." 24 hours later, a folder appeared on Marco's desk. Dr. Kenneth Morrison, 56, chief of surgery at Metropolitan Hospital. Married to Vanessa Morrison for 8 years. No children. The financial picture was interesting. Vanessa had been a successful architectural photographer before the marriage, published in national magazines. Now her name appeared nowhere. Her previous bank accounts were closed. Her car was registered in her husband's name. The deeper Tony dug, the worse it got. 3 emergency room visits at different hospitals. False, according to the records. A fractured wrist. Bruised ribs. Concussion. Each time, Dr. Morrison had been present, his medical credentials smoothing over any questions. What nurse questioned a respected surgeon about his wife's injuries? Marco found one photograph of Vanessa from 6 years ago, standing beside Morrison at a hospital fundraiser. Her smile still reached her eyes then. The light hadn't been completely extinguished. The photograph in yesterday's society pages showed the difference. Same woman, same smile, but something vital had been carved out of her. Marco closed the folder. Kenneth Morrison saved lives in his operating room while systematically destroying one at home. The irony was bitter. Find out her routine, Marco told Tony. Where she goes, when she's alone, if she's ever alone. The answer came back quickly. Vanessa went nowhere without Morrison's knowledge or permission. Grocery shopping with his driver. Charity events on his arm. The gym every Tuesday and Thursday morning. But Morrison's assistant called ahead, ensuring the staff knew to report if Vanessa spoke to anyone unusual. Except, every other Saturday, Vanessa visited the public library downtown. 2 hours, always alone. Morrison apparently considered reading sufficiently harmless to permit unsupervised. The library had a back entrance that faced an alley. The security cameras had blind spots. Marco made another call. "I need someone at the Central Library tomorrow, Saturday, 11 a.m. Female, professional, unthreatening. Have her approach Vanessa Morrison in the photography section. Just conversation, feeling out the situation. Report back." Saturday came. Marco waited in his office, working through contracts while his mind stayed half-focused on his phone. It rang at 1:15. "She's scared," Lisa reported. She was a social worker who'd helped Marco relocate 3 women in the past 2 years. Wouldn't give details, but she's got fresh bruising on her arms under those sleeves. I mentioned the shelter, gave her the number. She took the card but said she couldn't, that he'd find her anywhere she went. She knows his reputation protects him. Did she seem open to help? She seemed desperate, but also convinced there's no way out. Marco stood, walking to his window overlooking the city. Men like Morrison understood one thing: power. They wielded it like a scalpel, cutting away their victims' hope, connections, independence. Society protected them because they wore the right masks. But Marco had learned something those men never understood. There was always someone with more power. Always someone willing to use it. "I need to meet her directly," Marco said. "Somewhere she can leave if she wants, but private enough to talk. Can you arrange it? The library has study rooms. I can book one. Tell her I'm a domestic violence advocate who wants to discuss options confidentially. Whether she comes will tell you everything. Set it up." The meeting was scheduled for Wednesday, 2 p.m. Marco arrived early, positioning himself where he could observe. At 1:58, Vanessa Morrison walked through the library doors. She looked worse than the gallery photographs suggested. Vanessa sat across from Lisa in the small study room, hands folded tight in her lap, eyes darting toward the door every few seconds. Marco watched through the window before entering, noting the yellow-green bruise along her jawline that makeup couldn't quite hide, the way she held herself like someone expecting a blow. He knocked softly before opening the door. Vanessa jumped. "Mrs. Morrison," Lisa said gently, "this is Marco Dante. He's helped other women in situations similar to yours find safety. I thought you should meet him." Recognition flashed across Vanessa's face. She knew who Marco was, what he represented. Fear and something that looked like hope warred in her expression. "I should go," she whispered, starting to rise. "Please don't." Marco kept his voice level, unthreatening. He sat down slowly, leaving the door open, giving her space. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Vanessa hesitated, then sank back into her chair. Her eyes stayed fixed on the table. "I know what your husband does to you," Marco said quietly. "I know he uses his position to make you seem unstable if you speak up. I know he's isolated you from everyone who might help. And I know he's made you believe there's no way out." Vanessa's breathing had gone shallow. "He'll kill me if I leave. He's told me exactly how he'd do it. Make it look medical, a complication from an underlying condition no one knew about. He saves lives every day. Who would question him? I would." She looked up then, meeting Marco's eyes. "Why? You don't know me. I know men like your husband. They hide behind respectability while they destroy the people who can't fight back. Society protects them because they're useful, because people want to believe the mask is real." Marco leaned forward slightly. "I'm offering you a way out. A safe location tonight. Legal protection tomorrow. Evidence that makes his threats meaningless. You don't understand. Kenneth has connections everywhere. Judges, police chiefs, hospital administrators. He'll find me. And when he does, Mrs. Morrison." Marco's voice carried absolute certainty. "Your husband is powerful in his world. I'm powerful in mine. The difference is, I'm willing to use that power to protect you instead of hurt you." Vanessa's hands trembled. "What would I have to do?" "Tonight, pack one bag, documents, medications, irreplaceable items. At 11 p.m., walk out your front door. My driver will be waiting. Tomorrow, my attorney files a restraining order with enough evidence that no judge your husband knows will dare dismiss it. We document everything: medical records, financial control, witness statements. It won't work. Kenneth will. Kenneth will find that his connections suddenly have other priorities. That evidence he thought was buried resurfaces. That the narrative he controls starts slipping away from him." Lisa slid a folder across the table. "Medical records from all 3 hospitals. I know people who care more about truth than professional courtesy. Police reports that were filed and mysteriously closed. We have copies. Your old photography portfolio, showing what you were before he took that away." Vanessa's fingers touched the folder like it might burn her. "How did you get this?" "People talk to me," Marco said simply. "Especially when they realize staying silent makes them complicit. I'm scared. You should be. This is terrifying. But ask yourself, are you more scared of leaving or of staying?" The question hung in the air. Vanessa opened the folder with shaking hands, staring at evidence of her own suffering documented in clinical terms. Tears slid down her face. "He's at a medical conference until tomorrow night," she whispered. "He won't know I'm gone until he gets home." "Better. That gives us time." Marco pulled a card from his wallet. "This number reaches me directly. Anything changes, any sign of danger, you call immediately." Vanessa took the card. "What if I can't do it? What if I freeze? Then you call that number, and we'll come to you." "But Vanessa, the only way this ends is if you decide you want it to end." She nodded slowly. tucking the card into her purse. Lisa gave her a secure phone, prepaid and untraceable. They reviewed the plan twice more before Vanessa left, walking out of the library with her shoulders slightly straighter. Marco and Lisa sat in silence for a moment. "Morrison's not going to let this go quietly," Lisa said. "I'm counting on it. Men like him always overplay their hand when they feel control slipping." That night, Marco waited in his study. At 11:15, his phone buzzed. His driver, subject secured, en route to safe house. At 11:45, Tony appeared. Morrison just arrived home early. Neighbor reported hearing shouting, things breaking. Police were called. And nothing they can do. "Man's upset his wife left," they said. "Domestic dispute." Tony's expression was grim. But Morrison made calls. A lot of them. To people we've been tracking. Good. Let him make noise. Every thread, every attempt to use his connections, it's evidence. By morning, Kenneth Morrison had called in every favor he had. Judges who owed him considerations. Hospital board members. Police commissioners. But everywhere he turned, he found doors closing. Not obviously, not dramatically, but firmly. The judge who received the restraining order request was someone Marco's attorney had helped years ago. The police sergeant assigned to Vanessa's case remembered his sister's ex-husband, remembered how Marco's intervention had saved her life. The hospital administrator received an anonymous folder containing Morrison's accidental injury reports on his wife. Morrison tried hiring private investigators. They returned his money with polite refusals, something about conflicts of interest. He tried calling Vanessa's old friends. They suddenly remembered instances where she'd seemed afraid, bruises she'd explained away. Their statements went to Marco's attorney. 3 days after Vanessa left, Kenneth Morrison appeared at Marco's office building. Security stopped him in the lobby, but Marco had them send him up. Morrison stormed into Marco's study, fury barely contained. "You have no right to interfere in my marriage. Vanessa is confused, vulnerable. She needs medical help, not your criminal intervention." Marco remained seated, expression neutral. "Sit down, doctor." "I will not sit down." Something in Marco's voice made Morrison pause. He sat, though his hands gripped the chair arms white-knuckled. "Here's what's going to happen," Marco said quietly. Marco opened a folder, sliding photographs across his desk. Kenneth Morrison's face appeared in each one. Entering a hotel with a woman who wasn't his wife, accepting cash in a hospital parking lot, meeting with pharmaceutical representatives who'd been flagged for illegal kickbacks. "This is insurance," Marco said. "Evidence that your reputation isn't as spotless as you pretend. I won't use it unless you force me to." Morrison's face had gone pale. "That's blackmail." "No. Blackmail would be demanding something from you. I'm simply explaining consequences. You leave Vanessa alone, completely, permanently, and this stays private. You contact her, threaten her, use your connections to hurt her in any way, and every hospital board, every medical journal, every professional organization you belong to receives copies. She's my wife. She was your wife. Past tense. The divorce papers were filed this morning. You'll sign them without contest, accept a fair division of assets, and walk away. Those are the terms." Morrison stood, rage radiating from him. "You think he can threaten me? I have friends. Have friends. You'd be surprised how quickly people distance themselves from liability. Your colleagues at Metropolitan are already discussing your voluntary leave of absence. The medical board received an anonymous complaint about those injury reports. And the IRS has questions about your consulting income." Marco rose, and despite being the same height, his presence made Morrison step back. "I don't need to threaten you, doctor. I just need you to understand that the power you've wielded over one woman is nothing compared to what happens when you become inconvenient to people who actually matter in this city. Vanessa will come back. She always does. She has nowhere else to go. She has everywhere to go. And you have a choice. Disappear from her life quietly, or have everything you've built disappear loudly." Morrison left without another word, but Marco knew it wasn't over. Men like him never surrendered easily. 2 days later, Morrison showed up at the safe house. He'd hired someone to track the car, follow the route. He stood outside, calling Vanessa's name, demanding she come out and stop this nonsense. Marco's security team was already there, had been since day one. They documented everything. Morrison's threats, his attempts to break down the door, his shouted promises of what he'd do when he got her alone. Police arrived, real ones this time, not ones Morrison could influence. They arrested him for violating the temporary restraining order that had been filed that morning. The body camera footage showed a man unraveling, the careful mask slipping to reveal the rage beneath. Marco visited Vanessa at the safe house that evening. She sat on the couch, wrapped in blankets, looking exhausted but no longer quite so broken. He violated the restraining order, Marco said. He'll spend the night in jail. The judge will see the body camera footage tomorrow. Combined with everything else, it's enough. He'll find a way out. He always does. Not this time. The hospital board held an emergency meeting this afternoon. Morrison's been suspended pending investigation. The pharmaceutical kickback evidence went to the state medical board. His assets are frozen while the IRS audits his accounts. Marco sat in the chair across from her, maintaining distance. I told you, sometimes the most effective power is simply removing someone's foundation. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I don't understand why you did all this. What do you get from it? Nothing. I get nothing except knowing you're safe. But you're... She stopped, uncertain how to finish. A criminal? Yes. I've done things I'm not proud of, hurt people who probably deserved it, and some who maybe didn't. But your husband hurts people and gets awards for it, wears a white coat, and everyone calls him a hero. Marco's expression hardened. At least I'm honest about what I am. 3 weeks later, Kenneth Morrison signed the divorce papers. His attorney had advised him that fighting would only bring more evidence to light, evidence that could cost him his medical license entirely. The settlement gave Vanessa half of everything, the house, and a substantial monthly payment. Marco received a call from his attorney. It's done. She's legally free. Vanessa wanted to meet him one more time. They sat in a coffee shop near the safe house. Her choice, her territory. She looked different. Hair shorter, wearing colors instead of navy and black, something vital returning to her eyes. The restraining order is permanent, she said. 3 years minimum. And I'm moving. There's a photography studio in Portland that wants to exhibit my old work. They're offering me a show. That's good. Fresh start. I call my sister. We haven't spoken in 4 years. Kenneth isolated me from her, said she was bad influence. We talked for 3 hours. Vanessa's smile was genuine. She's flying out next week to help me move. You deserve that. All of it. I know this doesn't end the way movies do, Vanessa said quietly. I know I'll have nightmares, trust issues, years of rebuilding ahead. But Marco, you gave me the chance to rebuild. That's everything. Marco nodded. You did the hard part. You walked out that door. Everything else was just logistics. Still, thank you. After she left, Marco sat watching the street through the window. Tony appeared with the evening's reports. Morrison's moving to another state, Tony said. His lawyer negotiated a quiet resignation from the hospital in exchange for no criminal charges on the kickbacks. He'll start over somewhere else, probably do this all over again with someone new. Maybe. Or maybe enough people are watching now. Either way, he won't touch Vanessa again. The city council's asking questions again. They want to know why you keep involving yourself in civilian matters. Let them ask. Boss, one of these days, this crusade of yours is going to cost you. Someone important is going to push back. Marco turned from the window. Then they'll learn what happens when you push back against someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. 6 months passed. A package arrived at Marco's office, a photography book, professionally published. Inside, Vanessa's work, stark black and white images of rebuilding, resilience, women's faces that told stories of survival. The dedication page read simply, "For Marco Dante, who taught me that mercy isn't weakness." Marco kept the book in his study, on the shelf beside others, tokens from lives rebuilt, women who'd found their way back to themselves. He'd never be called a hero, would never shake the truth of what he was. But maybe there was something to be said for monsters who occasionally did monstrous things to other monsters. Maybe in a world where Kenneth Morrisons wore white coats and smiled for cameras while breaking their wives, there was room for Marco Dante's too. He picked up his phone when it rang. Another name, another situation, another woman who needed someone willing to look at what everyone else ignored. Marco listened, made notes, and began planning. Because some fights were worth having. Even if you'd never be forgiven for how you fought them,